What's up YouTube? Today we're going to be replacing the spark plug, the ignition coil, and the CDI box, as well as the belt on this CY50A scooter. This is going to be part 4. Stay tuned. But first, I wanted to announce we've got some Andy's Auto merch now. We got a hat, a shirt, a sticker, a coffee mug, and even a hoodie. You can find these items listed below the video, or you can go to my channel page and you can find them under the store section. If you're interested in supporting the channel while also getting some pretty cool gear for yourself, go ahead and check those out. Now back to the video. Alright, we got our performance ignition system. We got our new racing CDI, our performance ignition coil and spark plug wire, and our Lushiman performance spark plug. So we're going to go ahead and install these on the scooter now. We're also going to go ahead and get this belt installed. If you saw the last video, at the end, broke the damn bottom cover off, so we're going to have to get another one of those because it's technically part of the cooling system. So we're going to get the good stuff installed and see if she runs any better, because it was kind of bogging down at mid and full throttle. So we'll see if this helps. One thing I want to point out too is this Lushiman has a triple tip on it, kind of like an E3 almost, and it's orange, which is kind of cool. But I'm interested to see how this one will work. I had one for my scooter, but I never used it because they have these little deals on the top right here, like a regular spark plug, and I didn't know you could remove that, but I just knew that I needed one like this, so I thought it wouldn't work because it had this clipped onto the top there. But we don't need that. We're going to go ahead and screw this in. Alright, and that's what she looks like installed. Guess breaking the cover had one advantage. You guys are able to see this a little easier. I do fear that it's going to be a pain in the ass to actually replace that cover too, because this exhaust, I think, has to come off, and maybe some other stuff too. But I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. The main reason, or what main thing we want to see here, is if this ignition upgrade / maintenance will do anything for how it runs. Alright, so I went ahead and bolted up the coil. I routed it behind the stator wiring here coming out of the case, just because I think that the cover that broke is actually one of the things that holds this in place. And then of course over here we have our wire connected to the plug, and you just want to push down till you hear kind of a zip noise where it goes onto that little screw section at the top of the plug. So now what we want to do is go ahead and get our wires. Green goes on green, not green goes on not green. So you go ahead and connect those up, and then you can slide this cover back over, and then we'll move on to the CDI. And that's what that should look like once you're all finished up with that. Now, the CDI is generally located underneath and near the battery, and I believe that I have located ours right here. It's this black box. It's basically like an ignition module. So we're going to slide it off here, bring it out, and then we're going to unplug it. We're going to put our new one in and transfer this over. Alright, we got our little holding rubber slid back on, and we got it slid over the tab there. New CDI fully installed. New plug, coil, and wire installed. So let's see how she runs. Alright guys, here we are yet again. We got the scooter out. Want to give you guys a little update here. I did go ahead and take the new carburetor out, and I tried to put a larger jet in it. I did get it running, but it seemed like it wanted to bog out under acceleration. It seemed like it would start and it would idle perfectly fine, but under acceleration it just didn't have any power, it seemed like. So I tried to put a larger jet in it, and that actually seemed to make it worse. And so I ended up putting the regular jet back in it, and somehow, for some crazy reason, it seems to be working perfectly now. I mean, I won't say perfectly, that's a little generous, but it's the best it's been since I started. Also, we'll turn this light on here for you. I went ahead and replaced the fuel filter already. The one that came with this carburetor basically just had a screen inside of it, and I saw some gunk get in there. It was, of course, on the filter side. It didn't actually make it through, but I believe that there's some gunk potentially coming out of the gas tank or something, but hopefully that won't cause any major issues. But anyways, we got her running. It definitely runs and rides, but I'm just now getting around to changing out this belt that I got, so that's what we're going to be doing in this part of the video. I already replaced the spark plug and coil. That's already going to probably be in the same video here, but the spark plug and coil and this belt job we're going to do today are actually about a week apart from each other. Just for a little bit of context, I've been pretty busy. Go ahead and face the camera this way so it looks like I'm talking to you. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get this transmission put together, or at least as far as get the belt changed. We're going to get it inspected, and then we will go ahead and see if that makes any sort of performance change. I kind of doubt it will, but it'll definitely make the scooter more reliable for sure. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we got the cover off here. It's just a few 8mm bolts. Didn't want to bore you guys with that. One thing I will mention though is they do have a couple of guide pins on them. One's usually at the top, one's usually at the bottom. And one of mine seems to be missing, or I'm just not, there we go, never mind. It's right there. So there's one here, and then there's one like in the top middle, and you can kind of tell where they go because it'll have an extra indentation. It'll be like a little wider at the top. Anyway, this cover has never been off before because it even still has the gasket still in place. The gasket is completely unnecessary. The only thing I think the gasket might do is absorb a little bit of noise and vibration, but only a minor amount. There's no fluid in here at all, so there's really no reason to put a gasket. Anyway, though, the rubber is obviously trash. It's been in there since 2008. But surprisingly, the clutch and variator assembly actually appear to be in like new condition. They're in very good shape overall, at least visually. And the only thing that really can go bad in here over time from just sitting is the belt itself. As long as the other components are not seized, which they clearly aren't because I've ridden this thing around the block, then they don't really go bad other than from wear, which would only happen if it's being used. So a lot of these parts are essentially still brand new. So now I'm going to go ahead and take off these two nuts so we can get the belt out. You don't have to do that, but since I have all my tools with me, that is actually the easiest way. Some of you guys may have seen me do a belt before on another scooter in another video, but we'll go ahead and show it again right here. Okay, so we went ahead and took the 17mm nut off the front and the 14mm nut off the back. Everything came off relatively easy. There is just a little bit of glazing on these shoes for the clutch, so I might sand that off a little bit while I'm in here. Another good idea, especially on these older scooters, is to maybe go ahead and put a little bit of grease on the gears of your kickstart assembly while you're in here. That probably would not hurt. And otherwise, we're going to go ahead and slide this clutch off. Then we're going to squeeze this together with both hands, bringing this towards this. And then that should enable us to pop the belt out, pop the new one back in. We'll slide that back on, route it up over here, and then we'll be almost finished up. Alright, and here we are with the new belt installed. I got the old one right here. And pretty much when you're trying to compress this, you do have to give it kind of a clockwise twist as you're pulling in to get it to compress. But besides that, it is pretty easy to go ahead and get the belt on there. Also, if you do happen to have a can of brake cleaner handy, then it's a great idea to clean all of this out. I unfortunately am fresh out of brake cleaner at the moment. All that dust isn't going to hurt anything. It's mainly just, you know, peace of mind, personal preference. You got your stuff all cleaned out. But I personally don't believe that that dust in there is going to cause any damage. Also, cleaning it out is only going to make it clean temporarily. It will eventually look just like that again from the belt dust. It's just something I like to do every once in a while if I happen to have some brake cleaner on me. But this belt needs to be replaced before we really do anything on this scooter as far as long rides besides just around the block, because I've broken plenty of these scooter belts and it's always a pain in the ass when it happens, let me tell you. So we'll go ahead and get the front of the variator pulley put back on and we'll be finished up. And that's what it should look like when it's all finished up. Sand down those shoes a little bit and then get your nuts back on, get your pulleys put back together. You got your belt installed. Maybe give it a little twist here to kind of free up any slack in it. You don't necessarily have to, it'll do that itself, but I just like to do that, make sure it's good to go. It doesn't have too much slack where it'll interfere with the cover going back on. So now you just put your cover back on and we'll take it on a test. Also, if your belt's not actually broken, it's not a bad idea to keep it as a spare. Now let's get this thing started up and we'll take it for a little test ride. All right, we got her running. It's one of the few scooters that I know of that has an RPM gauge. All right, let's see what she's got. Sorry for any noise interference from the wind, I apologize. Not too bad, not too bad. She makes it around the block pretty good, that's for sure. We're pulling back in. Alright guys, and that's going to be the end of the video for today. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for part 5 where we're going to be doing even more work to this thing. I'll see you next time.